Hi, I'm Curt.
I'm Alex.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Thea.
And this is a run-through and playthrough of Before There Were Stars, a title from Smirk and Dagger, Smirk and Laughter that is going to be launching in August. Guys, this is a storytelling game, and it's probably one of the most emotionally rewarding storytelling games I've ever seen. And this young man over here, Alex, this is his brainchild. So, yeah. In any case, in this game, we are ancient lore givers of our people, and we all have, it's almost like we have our individual cultures. All right? So, on your turn, you're going to be rolling these star-pipped dice into the night sky. And now you're going to scan the heavens, and you're going to look for constellations that you might see that night. And these constellations are represented by the cards. So, for example, with the moon, if I had a 2 and a 3, which I do, I could choose to pull the moon into my story as a keyword or a concept. And we're going to go around the table, and we're going to draft one at a time until we each have 2. And then we're going to tell our story, and we've got about a minute to tell the story. You don't have to take the full minute. You can even go a little bit over. We've got a little bit there's an app that will just kind of guide you as to when that is happening. There'll be little crickets in the background, and when the birds chirp, then we'll know, yeah, it's time to wrap up. But what stories are we telling? And that's the important thing. These are creation myths. So with 2 cards drafted, chapter 1 is In the Beginning. How, for example, did the moon and the arrow create the universe? All right. Then we're going to do chapter 2 after a round of scoring. And chapter 2 is now, how did we get here? This is the dawn of our civilization. And then finally, a great hero emerges. What is the hero's tale? And lastly, end of days. This is going to be doom and gloom. Is it going to be hopeful? You decide, because none of us are going to take any of our stories off track. You control the story, you own it, and it's yours to decide. Scoring, by the way, is going to be secret, and what we should be listening for, and the audience, you'll be listening for this too. We'll have, in the end, a 2, 3, or 4-point star to put secretly into our offering bags as they go around the table and we vote. But what you're scoring on is not who was the best presenter or who told the funniest joke, necessarily. What it comes down to is, who do we think had the coolest moment this round? And anyone can have a great moment. All right, so this really levels the playing field and allows everyone to enjoy and do well, regardless of your skill as a storyteller. All right, so that's probably enough to get us going. Now, it is traditional for the host to begin, so I will go ahead and do this. I already rolled the dice, but I'll roll them again. Now, just to let everyone know, so the constellations we have out there right now, we have the moon, the scorpion, the lion, the arrow, and the lightning. So, I'll go ahead and choose the first card. Lots of 6s. I can't get the moon. I don't have a 3. With 12 dice, you'd think you'd be able to get whatever you wanted.
Funny how that works.
1, 2, 4. No 5s either.
You have a 5.
Oh, I do? Oh, thank you.
Yes.
All right. So I will go ahead and I will pick up the scorpion. So that'll be my story. And now a new constellation card comes up. It is the necklace.
Thank you. And now, if at any point you don't like any of the cards on the table, or you can't get any of them, which is rare but does happen, you can have the top card on the deck as a blind draw. So that's always an option if you just don't like what's out there and you want to risk your luck.
Then you have to use it.
Right. No 3s for me either.
Okay.
So I'll take with a 6, a 5, and a 1. I'll grab the lion. Desert.
And as you start drafting cards and choosing them, you're going to start formulating the little bits of the story as you go.
Alright, so let's see what we can do here. The arrow.
The arrow. The twins.
Ooh.
That's kind of neat. Yeah, that's a good one. Right. The grave.
Ooh.
You can see how the star pips on the dice. It's kind of like little constellations with those old timey drawings behind them. Yeah. I can do the twins, so I think that's going to be for me. The father is next.
Okay. I will take 2, 3, and 5. I'll grab the desert.
Desert and Alive. Sounds cool.
Ooh.
Next is the cloak. Let's just turn
Alright. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to use 5 and 4, and I'm going to take the father.
Oh, they're in the air. And the elephant pops up.
Elephant. I'm gonna go for the light.
Okay, so now we've each drafted our first 2 story elements. The remaining cards are going to actually be discarded, so they'll be out of the game for this time. And now each of us is going to have roughly a minute to tell our tale. Now, it doesn't have to be a full minute. It can be a little bit less. It can be just a little bit longer. And we do have an app that will help guide you through that minute. It's just like the sky, kind of moving from dusk to dawn with kind of some nice nature sounds. And even at the end, it doesn't say stop. It says, time to wrap up, so it's all a little gentle thing. Now, again, chapter 1 is in the beginning. Now, you can actually use those words or anything that kind of gets you into that whole, we're about to tell the story of how the universe was created. So once again, I will start things off, and I'm going to need just a minute to figure out what I'm going to do here. All right, so we got, for me, it's got the twins and the scorpion. Okay. There you go. Okay. In the beginning, the all-being was united and one. But over time, a partition developed within its psyche. And before long, it started to pool itself into 2 separate units. Identical, but not inside. And so as this entity drew into 2 things, 2 twins, they started to form their own personalities, their own thoughts. And one was convinced that it was not the most beautiful. It, therefore, contained itself within a hard shell. It formed a pincer for claws to strike at people, and a poisoned tail for the barbs that it felt it deserved to give. All right, that's my first little story there.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to pass it on here.
All right. So I have the lion and the desert.
I'm going to put this on here.
All right. So, at the dawn of time, the entire world was a great desert, as far as the eye could see. There was no water and no life. And a powerful being saw this below and was saddened by the desolation and the lack of any kind of spark of creativity and fire of life. So it took the form of a lion and descended down to this desert, and it began to walk around and search everywhere, high and low, for life, but all it found was more and more sand. And it poured its heart and soul into this search, looking everywhere it could, but it just couldn't find any life. And then finally, at the end of its, when it was fully exhausted, it died, and it fell forward onto the sand. But from its body, that life sprung forth, rivers and trees, spreading out into the desert and giving shape to our world.
All right.
Now, as you can see, a lot of these stories are going to go in very different ways. Some can be, humorous. They can be whatever you want it to be.
All right. So let's get started here. I'll put the father and the arrow. All right. Does it start? All right. All right. So in the beginning, there were just the heavens. There were just stars and swirls of the Milky Way. But within those stars and swirls, there was the father and there was his child. And like any father who loves their child, they wanted a place for their child to grow and to be happy and to experience life beyond the constraints of the heavens. So to do this, the father found himself an asteroid, and he pulled it into a bow, and he shot it as an arrow, much like a shooting star. And thus, from that shooting star, the world was born.
Nice.
All right.
Cards back over there. Okay. Whenever you're ready, just hit start.
Okay, so I have the moon and lightning. So in the beginning, the moon was a lonely creature out in the heavens by herself. But she was not too sad about it. She was pretty happy to be by herself, quietly minding her own business. Until one day, lightning showed up. And lightning is brash and loud and flits all over the place and causes trouble, and the moon was just not having it. So she came after lightning, and the two collided and created the universe.
Nice. Cool. All right, so that's the end of chapter 1. So now we have a scoring round. So everyone has a cloth bag. This is an offering bag, and it matches your card in terms of color, so we know whose is whose. We're going to just pass it to the left, and it's going to go all the way around the table, and you are going to drop just one of these star points in front of you. Now, there's a blue star, which is worth 2 points, a yellow star, which is worth 3 points, and a gold star, which is worth 4. And what you're going to be scoring on is not who told the funniest joke or was the best presenter, but who had the coolest moment. And so we're going to do that right now.
All right.
This is secret, so you're just going to drop it in there.
Secret stars.
Secret stars.
All right. Okay. Keep shuffling down.
This is blue.
All right.
All right. So that's that. So now we are going to move first player forward. So Alex, you're going to start this one. Reset that. And we get 5 new constellations out there. So now we have, where are we? the hammer, the bridge, the candle, the child, and the valley. So just a little bit. There we go. Now it's pretty.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, so this second chapter is the dawn of civilization. How did we as a people get here?
And as we tell our story in this round, you'll notice on your player aids that you're going to be having 2 new cards, but you're also going to be incorporating 1 or more of the cards that you used before. So as we build these stories, each round, more and more of our former elements are getting incorporated, and this world is building out from that.
That's right.
The bridge. That's what I thought you were going to do.
Yeah. All right, the mouth. Okay. Next one is the road. There's nothing you love. You can always blind draw, but then it's a super surprise.
Surprise! I'm gonna risk it.
Do it.
Do
I
it.
like
Do
it.
it. Do it.
The rainbow.
Oh,
Good. Oh, that works
nice.
great.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What am I going to do here? That could work. No. There's no floor. I can't get the child. Yeah, I'm feeling risky too. Okay. All right.
All it takes is one person to open that
Yep.
risky door.
Yep. It is. Oh man, clay.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's
All right.
not bad. That's
All
not
right.
bad.
I'm gonna have to realign my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, round 2. Not quite enough 6s to go for the road, but I'll hit with my bridge. Let's see. Okay. The candle. Okay.
The rose.
All right, and I think I'm gonna go.
Nice. Next up is the sun.
Oh.
I thought you might. I thought you might.
It's fun to see, like, try to peg other people's storytelling
Right.
ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're
Yep.
gonna go for this one, and they don't. And you're like, oh, what are you planning?
And now I don't have a 1. Well, the child is not in the cards for me.
It's in cards, but not in the stars.
Ah. See what you did there. Man. Okay. Oh, I can't take that one. I can't take can get the castle, that's it. But I'm not feeling the castle, so...
Oh, going in again.
Risky.
This is risky. The forest. Okay.
Doable.
All right.
Okay, so we'll clear these 5 off.
All right.
I'm up first this time. So, Chapter 2, The Dawn of Civilization. So, in this great new fertile valley where the lion had died, sprung up life. Men and women came into existence as life grew up in this valley. And dividing the center of the valley was a mighty river. And there were people on both sides of the river in small groups, but not enough to really start a civilization. They didn't have a way to interact as easily as they might like. And one of the groups discovered at the body of the lion a giant candle, which was the only source of light in this world at this time. And so, using the divine spark from the lion's body, they lit the candle and waded across the river. And as they did so, droplets of wax dropped into the river and began to pool. And they would go back and forth trading with the other side. And eventually, the wax, over time, formed a mighty bridge that permanently united the two sides. And from this bridge, civilization was able to grow.
Ooh. All right. Okay. So, it's those 2 cards and 1 other, right?
Yeah, so let's put the 2 new cards out.
Let's put them out. Use that one. I think I'm gonna call back to my father card. All right. Let's start this story. So after the stardust settled, the world was made, and it was beautiful and lush, and the father let his child grow in the valley. And the valley was the most beautiful garden of trees and flowers and streams and animals and everything that a young child that was creative and curious of the world would need to grow into a kind human being. But there was one thing as the child grew that they noticed, and that's that they were lonely because there were no other people. And so the child asked their father for friends. And so the father, again, out of love for his child, went into this beautiful valley, in the garden of that valley, and they plucked a rose. And from that rose, the first people were born. And they plucked a flower, each a different flower, and a diverse group of people were created, and those people started the first civilization.
Nice.
Time to wake up. And then the sun rose.
Let's get your cards out there.
So, where the lightning and the moon collided, they created the sun. And the sun shone down on a particular rock and made it grow lush and beautiful, and life sprung. And the planet grew all its accoutrements, rivers, trees, lakes, what have you, and people. And the people, they were happy. So the sun bestowed upon them a rainbow. And the rainbow bestowed upon the planet magic. So people possessed magic powers. But they did not know that at one end of the rainbow lay a darkness. And the darkness was plotting.
I like that. That's fun. Huh. Okay.
All right. Spooky.
All right. So I picked up clay and the forest. Well, I have the twins and the scorpion originally. So. Okay. So the scorpion, ashamed of what it was and what it had become, sought nothing more than just to hide its whole presence from his brother. And so he dug himself down deep into the clay of the earth. And as he dug, and his claws pushed earth up, it formed mountains. It dug rivers. It had the forest spring up. And then, as the scorpion continued to work the earth, he formed the clay into you and I. And these same things, the clay became brick, the forest, wood for our homes. And we built our first civilization here with what our creator, the scorpion, provided for us. But he did one other thing, which he did not mean to do. He pricked the clay of our being and injected us with a venom. And this venom is why the earth, why our existence is so filled with pain. And we have to find a way to ease that pain through our own connections in our culture.
All right.
All right, so let's see, pull our cards back, and it is time for the storing round. So, hand your bag to the left. You can always look at the people's cards if you want to try to remember.
I've dropped one. Oh, he's there. A falling star.
Sorry. My star got stuck to my hand. What I wanted to put in there. Ooh.
Put that the right way.
No, you that go. Wait.
No, I already put one in there.
You put yes. So that
yes,
yes, that does
okay,
come to
okay.
me.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Got one round ahead of us. There we go.
There.
We're good. We got this. Then,
Are we good?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We're good at this offering stuff.
So, you get to be first storyteller now.
All right.
Chapter 3 is our hero story. So, a great hero emerges for our people.
Ooh.
So we have famine, the bear, the owl, the blizzard, and the comet.
Okay.
Don't take my card.
Is that always the worry too? You're like,
So I have no idea what I want to do yet. So I'm not sure. Ooh. All right. So let's do maybe hero. I have enough for the blizzard. I will take that. Everyone knows the cold is awful.
The skull.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go for the comet.
Next we have the river.
Could go either way with this. Okay, I think I'm going to pull the owl. The mountain is next up.
And I had my famine. I have a 3/3/5, so I'm going to take that. Replace it with the fish.
All right. You know what? I have haven't done anything risky yet.
Oh, yay, risky!
So we have
The fox!
oh,
Very nice.
I think I
mythologies are no good without a little trickster.
I think I like that for your story.
Yeah.
The cave. That's interesting. Get the bear. Can't get the cave. Or the skull. Okay, I think the bear's where we're gonna go. Yep. So next up we have the hand.
My eye on something. Let's see if I can roll well enough to get it. Alright, 2 ones. I'm going to take the skull. So that ends that round of grabbing items, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I'll clear these off.
Okay, chapter 3, A Great Hero Emerges. Now you'll notice on the card, we've gotten the 2 new cards, and now we're going to reference 2 or more of the cards that we've talked about previously.
All right. So let's see. Let me see. Pulling it together. 2 or more of the cards. Okay. I think I got something. I think I got it. Let's do this. Oh, reset. I gotta press the right buttons first. All right. So, as the child grew into a young man, surrounded by this civilization, surrounded by friends, he grew up strong and he grew up kind, and without any reason to not trust or to question any of the wonderful people he had surrounded himself with. And he was truly a kind and a gentle spirit, much like the flowers that all the people had come from. But when he was around 15, out into the valley, he was wandering and collecting fruits and veggies and out, and he came across a small fox while he was out and about. And the fox spoke to him and said, please, I'm hungry, and I have not been able to catch any food to eat. So winter is coming. I haven't been able to take any food in. I will surely die if I do not eat. And the young man, raised on kindness, said, come with me, and I will show you the reserves of my city. And so he showed the fox the reserves of his city, and the fox was pleased, and he ate to his heart's content. And the boy wished the fox well. And then winter fell, and a blizzard came upon the town. And the blizzard was so bad that nobody could hunt, and nobody could, foster or cultivate their land, and they had to rely on the reserves. And when the town went, they realized that there were none, for the fox had shared the reserves with the rest of the forest and the rest of his brethren. And so the town pressed upon the boy to right what was wrong. And the boy went to his father, and he was gifted his celestial arrow. And so he went, no longer a small child, but a young man, to go and right the wrongs by hunting the fox. And a hero was made.
All right, nice.
Very good.
So, the darkness lurking at the end of the rainbow began to grow and spread across the land, and the rainbow began to fade away, and a mountain rose out of the great darkness below. So the darkness spread across the land and started basically taking out all life. And the sun looked down and noticed that his people were sad and dying, so he sent a great comet. And the comet landed on the earth, and out from it sprung the spiritual remains of the moon and the lightning. A hero possessing both a serenity and a feistiness to be able to combat the darkness.
Alright, let's see. So pull your cards back. This time I had the bear and the owl. These were the previous cards. Okay. There we go. So, our life had been filled with pain for generations. When a witch came to our village one day with a very interesting promise. She could take away all our pain if we but kept her, with food and provisions. And this to all of us sounded like a great gift, so we accepted it. But then we would venture out into the day, and the sun would roast our skin and we would not know. Until the damage was done, we would venture into the forest, and we did not fear the bear because we could not feel the claws upon us. A great many things befell our people, all tied to not being able to feel the pain. When descended from a tree, a very wise owl instructed our people that pain, while uncomfortable, is extremely necessary. For that is how we sustain ourselves, how we learn lessons. And so we learn to live with our pain. Thanks to our owl.
Okay, so I had skull and famine. What were my previous cards? Civilization was progressing, but unfortunately for the people of this new land, there was a famine. There was not enough food, and people began to get sick and die, and civilization was on the verge of collapse. It was so bad, people even started trying to eat the wax from the bridge to fill their empty stomachs, and eventually even that began to break down. So a party of people representing the best and the brightest and the kindest took the candle and poured their love and fear and ambition and everything they had into it to reignite that spark brighter than it ever had been before. And they took it back to the body of the lion and presented it. And then the spark of all of humanity was sucked into the lion. And then the lion was rebirthed as the new god of this land. And it stood up and it blessed the fertile valley and began to give parts of itself to sustain the people. It gave its skin and fur to give them garments. It gave its flesh for them to eat until eventually there was nothing left but the skull of the lion left behind. A giant, massive skull in which they were able to build a new great hall that would house and protect them. And so thanks again to the selflessness of the lion, civilization had survived.
The circle of love.
Dang it.
All right.
Thanks
So
for trying.
chapter 3 scoring.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's my bag. Let's see.
and speedy at this part.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so our next chapter is the end of days. How does our story wrap up? So, there is water. The whale. The sea. The shark. The wheat.
And nautical.
Interesting. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that.
Right. Got
Oh
him.
no!
All right.
Gotta get creative.
We have wine though.
You took water, but you gave us wine.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yep. I'm doing it. I'm taking wine.
All right.
Oh, there's the witch.
Hey.
You have to take the witch. You're just gonna sound like a copycat.
Lame.
Go ahead.
Take the seed.
Everybody's
Everybody's snatching what everybody wants.
The wind.
Oh.
Let's see that working anymore.
Alright, so let's look at my thighs. And you know what? Let's see. I can make the wind work and go safe. Or I can try to get something better by pulling from the top of the deck.
I think you go with your gut on this one. Like, if you can make the win work and it's going to be awesome, do it. Otherwise, like, challenge yourself. And just go nuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge myself. Let's do it, because it's making it work. Right. The ring.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All right. All right.
Your nails almost match this theme. It's pretty
Did
awesome.
we not get why this is like?
Yeah.
Just box me, and this is what it looks like.
Okay. Horse. Well, let's just make it official, shall we? All right, so now we come in with the house.
So I think I've already decided, even without looking, I'm going to top deck. The hurricane.
I like that.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, I don't know quite what I want to do with all this yet. This is gonna be interesting. It might have to turn a different direction than I thought it was gonna turn.
Yeah, that does happen.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna pull top deck.
All right.
Get a good one.
All right. The judge.
Oh my.
Oh my!
There's
yeah,
some
that is.
finality to that. I like that.
Wow.
Apropos.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. All right.
Cool.
All right, so we'll clear these off.
Okay, the end of days.
The end of days. reference at least 3 of them? Okay. So the comet came down with his power of moon and lightning, and this allowed him to use the elements against the darkness. So he used water and the wind to erode the darkness of the mountain. However, he simply ended up spreading the darkness across the land, where it consumed the entire planet. And in turn, himself, darkness rose up and took everything. But it still did not quite manage to blot out all the goodness of the lightning and the moon. So a single glimmer of hope lay down beneath the earth, waiting for its time to shine. The end.
All right. Wow. I think it's got a little dark there, literally.
Is anyone surprised?
All right. Get your stuff back over there. All right. Wine and Witch. Goodness. Just a second here. Okay. So, now understanding the importance of pain in our lives, but knowing that we need not suffer needlessly, we created the sacrament of wine as a way to nourish ourselves and also deaden some of that pain in our lives. And in the fullness of time, the witch came back to our village, saw that all that had become, the lessons we had learned, and the customs and rites that we had developed. Whereupon, the witch unmasked itself, revealing itself to be the scorpion's own brother. The twin had returned and saw the good work the scorpion and the people had done in bringing themselves in a full course and understanding the beauty of what gifts they had to give. And so the universe once again became whole. And this is our tale.
Oh. Bravo.
You have the seed and hurricane. Okay. So, the civilization prospered for years, millennia. It grew and it flourished, but all things must come to an end. Eventually, a hurricane arose in the ocean to the west, and it pulled all the water and all of the force of nature up into it and came crashing over civilization, wiping it clean from the face of the earth. And as it dissipated, it revealed that after all had been wiped away, all that remained was a desert. And from this desert, a single seed sprouted up out of the earth that had been nourished by the water of the hurricane. And it grew into a mighty plant that sprung forth a single pod. As the plant died, the pod dropped to the ground and opened up, and out crawled a lion cub. The cycle set to repeat.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Oh, let me see how I'm gonna mix this all up. All right. I think I got something.
Good.
Something's better than nothing. All right. I wasn't expecting some of these. Oh, okay. So, let's get started then. All right. So, as the young man went into this blizzard with his celestial bow and arrow, he he went to right the wrong and bring back the sunlight and the fertility to the land. And in his mind, the way to do this was to fell the fox who had tricked him. And so he went into this blizzard and he traversed and he tracked the fox, and he went and it wore him down. And he, battled against those elements, and finally he could not go any further, and he fell to his knees and he succumbed to the cold and the darkness that was there. And as he sat there thinking, this will be how I die, the fox came to him. And he raised his bow and he raised his arrow, and he decided now was going to be the time that he would set things right and save his life. But he could not let loose the arrow. He could not bring it within himself to harm the fox. And the fox stood there and said, "Now do you see why I had to steal the food?" It was to save his own life. And so the young man, realizing that he could not fault the fox for simply trying to live and survive, decided to go back to the village. But the fox was still in the wrong, and he could not get away without any form of judgment for stealing all of the food and leaving the villagers to perish. And so the young man said to the fox, "All right, I will not shoot you with my arrow. However, it will be your duty to lead me from this blizzard to the village and keep me from certain death." And so he went, and the blizzard ended as the fox was able to lead him back. And with his celestial power and with the power that he held, he decreed that the fox would always be the judge and would lead those who had passed away into the night to the realm of the dead, so that he could judge unbiasedly without human input. And from that moment forward, he was given a ring as proof of his solidarity with the fox, and it was a fox ring with little foxes on it. And he is now Fox King. Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Very
what you do.
nice.
At the end, if you don't know what to do, king them.
Yeah. Put a crown on it.
Isn't that how mythology goes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
You
you're
like
a
to
hero.
put a ring on it.
Yeah.
Put a ring. All right, so our last bits of points here. Oh, I have to remind myself.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Escaping stars.
Yeah, that's what the same thing happened to
What
me.
happened? Make it secret. Hold on. You can't look at what a point
Yeah,
they give
come
you.
on.
Like,
It's a whole lot
yeah.
of cheater McCheaty.
All right.
Okay. All right. So basically that's the game, but there's one more really, really important aspect to this game because scoring has been secret, we haven't really talked a lot about our stories yet. And this is the opportunity to do that. So this is the appreciation round, and we have one last bonus point to give. This is our Over the Moon token. So it'll start with the host, and you're going to mention like one or two things that you really liked in people's stories, and then give this one bonus point to your favorite moment. So I will go ahead and start. Let me just think about it for a minute. Okay. Yeah, put out your cards.
Huh.
Okay. So on your story, I really liked how it came full circle at the end, and I also that moment of like the candle dripping into the water and it forming the bridge. I thought that was like a really interesting use of that created this physical object in the world. But then that it always kind of came back to the lion and rebirth was interesting. And yours. there was all the natural elements coming together. In particularly like the rainbow and that imagery, but just like when like the moon and the lightning like smashed together and created the universe, I thought that was really cool. That was actually really neat. I like that moment a lot. I'm gonna actually give my bonus point though to you.
Oh.
And the reason is this: there is something kind of cool about the fox being introduced into this culture as a friend who kind of betrayed because you gave him a reason. He wasn't just like a villain, and you ended up redeeming that person in the end, and I thought that was just kind of neat. I loved how it came full circle, and
no more trickster foxes. Yeah. Everyone wants to villainize them.
Yeah.
Let's make them friends.
Yes, and that was cool. And then he became an important member of the society, so I liked that.
Now they're a little society that worship foxes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, is it me?
You can no longer, yes, they're your society now. They can no longer shoot foxes. I'm pretty sure that was like mandated into law.
Probably.
Yeah.
Afterwards. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
They're flower people. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, a few moments that I really enjoyed. I liked a moment very early on in your story when people were springing forth from the flowers, and you talked about how like the civilization came from all these different types of flowers, which made different types of people.
Yeah.
That was
neat.
a really beautiful moment in that story.
Oh.
And Curt, we had 4 kind of serious stories this time, and usually I like to go for the funny stories, but this time I just wasn't feeling it with the cards I was getting. But I did really like that moment when wine came out.
Yeah.
For drowning our sorrows. I thought that was a really good touch. And I'm actually going to echo one of the things that Curt said about your story and award you this point.
Thank you.
I really loved that moment right at the beginning when you had the moon, who is peaceful and serene and just trying to do her own thing, and then lightning is this brash thing, and then the entire universe springing out of their collision and that conflict. I just thought that was a great moment.
Yeah. And I like the characterization of the two, because they became not just objects but characters, and that was neat. Yeah.
Oh, man, there's so many good things going on here. So I really love how you were not afraid to go dark, and the visualization of your hero coming forth, like in my brain, was just wonderful. I loved how it was from that crash, from that like moon and lightning sparkle dust, this hero came forth, and that I was like, that's gotta be like the coolest hero ever. But he was secretly dark. I was like, this is just great. I love it. From yours, I was really like just entranced. I loved the switch and having it be the twin. I like how you brought that back. I think it made it really like it rounded everything out, and it was kind of unexpected. And I thought that it still fit in while surprising everyone. And then with yours, I loved the imagery of these people, and this candle bridge is such a weird, it's like surreal kind of imagery, and you have no idea how it would work in real life, but it sounds like something that would be in a myth. And you don't question it in mythology. You're just like, candle bridge.
Yeah, totally. That makes perfect sense.
It's Candlebridge 101.
Yeah,
it's really basic It's foundational.
Classic.
But I was just thinking about it. I was like, wow. I'm thinking about how old civilizations would have made hieroglyphs and paintings of these myths, and I'm like, that's such a cool image. But I think I'm gonna award this to you for the reveal of the twin.
Thank you.
I think that was the most just cool. Oh man, yeah.
So similarly, I loved the wine. You had to throw that fun little bit in there, and it definitely was just it felt out of nowhere, which was great too, because it was there's a smile. After we're all kind of serious business. I loved that you just managed to work it in there. You were just pulling cards, and you were like, here we go. We got this whole thing put together, and the story came together really well in the end. It just worked.
And then you just put a ring on it.
And then you put a ring on it. If you like it.
You put a ring on it.
And really, quite frankly, I just love that you used the lion without making it into Aslan. I feel like that would have been an easy out to make him super, super godlike, but he was definitely more down to earth and a little more like a part of the society, and it was really, really great. So you get the point for that.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. So at this point, if you want, you can take a look at your points, but the point is we heard some really cool stories and it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love this. I feel like this is such a good. You know what this reminds me of? Like a campfire game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's
Absolutely.
so hard to get people in the mood for campfire stories, but this sets it up to where you're not doing it like off like the top of your head or anything. So I feel like you cozy down, you got like your s'mores, and you're sitting there, and you just start like building up off of it, and it makes it such a like wonderful little setup for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so that's
It's like great
cozy.
for like couples and wine. And
Right.
It's
Yeah,
great
like-
for just like
I
because it's no
absolutely love
pressure.
it.
Yeah.
Because I don't like telling stories. I don't like public speaking. I don't like any of this. Like,
And how did you find this then?
I found it perfectly fine. Like, I mean, you're given the material, and as long as you have a little creativity. I mean, I didn't have a very particularly long story, but it came
But it
together.
was
And I
fun.
didn't feel uncomfortable the entire time like I do when I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say next? So, no, it was great for me.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I feel like it's one of those things that you could do more serious stories just like we did, or if it's just like a light night, you just, you go for, I was like, I saw the shark card and I was like, man, like I really kind of want it. It won't fit. Like
It could have been
there's
Sharknado.
Yeah, Sharknado.
Shark, but you had a
And then
blizzard, at
suddenly
least.
there were sharks. Yeah.
Suddenly sharks.
Yeah, I can tell you, I brought this game to my mother's mahjong group.
Oh my God.
They loved it, by
That's
the way.
great.
And one of my mom's friends, she had, like I did, the twins, and her other clue was chest. And she decided to go super body. And I'm like, oh no.
That's beautiful.
It was hysterical. So I mean, you can make this game whatever you wanted to make it.
Absolutely. No, it's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, so here's hoping that you'll give it a shot. And this is Before There Were Stars.